Right, namaste everyone, and welcome to another episode of Access of Ideas. And today I'm being joined by another very special guest. Uh, in one of my earlier episodes, I had the privilege of speaking to Mr. Shashi Hoda, who is based out of Australia, and he had done a fantastic amount of research on the history of Indians in Australia and the connection between the two countries. And today I have the honor of speaking to Dr. Satish Rai, who is a journalist, a filmmaker who has dedicated much of his life towards the uh, towards connecting Indians and the Fiji Indians who were transported out of India and shipped to various localities across the world for indentured labor. And Dr. Rai himself happens to be a descendant of the same people. So glad to have you, Dr. Rai, with me. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you, and thank you for arranging this meeting
You're most welcome.
and for me to connect with your audience.
Yes. So, like, basically, one of my ideas here is like, obviously, speak about Indic philosophy, Indic traditions, and in the process, also getting in touch with the overseas diaspora of Indians who have been there for a very long time, and help also build connection. Sort of build a bridge between the two communities of the ones who are currently in the motherland and the ones who are spread across. So I think that would be great. Now, regarding your identity, your personal roots, I just wanted to like start off by asking like, how did you first learn about your ancestors' journey? Like, was it like through oral traditions passed down at home, or like did you personally seek it out through archives?
Let me just share that I was born in Fiji,
Hmm.
and during my first 24 years living in Fiji, I never heard of the word indenture or grimit, and nobody told us anything about my ancestors. Not in the school, not my parents, not my grandparents, nobody. It was a subject not talked about at
Okay.
all. And we were just vaguely aware that our ancestors, we have got some connection with India.
Okay.
And in present time, then the only connection with India was, of course, Ramayana, aspects of Mahabharata and other literature which my uncle would get from India, and newspapers, radio, and Bollywood movies.
Okay.
That's the extent of our knowledge, our connection with India. And then in 1980, I migrated to UK, lived in London, and 8 years, nothing about Gurmeet, nothing about ancestors,
Okay.
little thoughts about India, but I did manage to connect with a lot of Indians who became my friends
Okay.
there. But my journey of self-discovery and identity and my search for Gurmeet, my ancestral root, began after I witnessed the horrifying uh, coups of 1987 unravel in my home on television of
Okay.
1987.
Okay.
That told me two things: that Fiji was not my home, and secondly, that I could never return to Fiji to live there. And as Fiji was no longer my home, where was my home?
Mm.
And that began my journey. And that's the same year I left my job as a police constable at the Metropolitan Police in London,
Okay.
and I decided to pursue my degree course in sociology. And because of that, and my quest, and because of my involvement with anti-racist activities in London, I decided to pursue racial relations in depth in my sociology degree course. And that's where I started to research on Eurocentric racism,
Okay.
which I delve in deeply, and while researching that, I came across slavery,
All right.
and then, of course, the Indian slavery, which is the indenture system.
Mm,
So around 88, 89 is the
mm,
first I came across Indian indenture system. And later on, a few years later, I decided to give one name to all the descendants of indentured Indians and indentured Indians. And that name was Gurmit.
mm,
And because three of the colonies where the Indian indentured laborers were sent, they called themselves Girmitias.
mm,
And
mm.
so I decided that we had to have one identity instead of having triple identity, which is Jahaji and Kontraki and Girmitia.
Yes.
I decided that we should call everybody Girmitias and the system Girmit. And that was the start of my journey.
Okay. So, would you reckon that this was pretty much also the norm for your peers as well in Fiji at the time? Like they also didn't have much clue or knowledge about their ancestral history, or so was it something like never talked about in your households?
Yes. I've written a long article, The Transgenerational Trauma
Mm-hmm.
of Girmit and Girmitias. In that, I have outlined why
Okay.
our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents
Mm-hmm.
did not talk about Girmit. Basically, it was too painful, and
Okay.
they hopefully they wanted to shield their descendants from the trauma
Mm-hmm.
they went in, or their parents and grandparents went through. And so it was not talked about. And unfortunately, in Fiji at least,
Mm-hmm.
the schools did not, in my time, did
Okay.
not teach about Gurmit.
Okay. Okay.
And even when I went to Fiji in 2004 as part of a delegation, and to launch my Discover Indian Roots project in Fiji,
Yes.
uh, hardly anybody knew about Gurmit, and journalists and the TV radio personalities laughed when I talked about Gurmit then, and some of the
Okay.
people who are now leading Gurmit research and activities in the
Mhm.
Fijian diaspora did not know anything about Gurmit. That was about 20 years ago.
Okay. Okay. And so, in this time period, in the last 20-22 years that you have spent, producing documentaries and putting out content related to the Gurmit identity, uh, what sort of change have you noticed among Fiji Indians regarding their the curiosity that they have towards their ancestry, or knowing about their roots? Has it enhanced? Has it increased somewhat compared to what it was 2-3 decades ago?
Yeah, definitely. You've got two types of people, and maybe we'll talk
Hmm.
more about the. Let me first talk about the first bit. The people who are taking advantage of grimmy issues, the
Okay.
politicians, the academics.
Hmm.
They are there to self promote themselves, and there's quite a few of them who come about. And
Okay.
I would not name them, but they are in Fiji, they are in the Indian Gurmi diaspora, they're in India as well.
Okay.
Academics and NGOs and others who take advantage of Gurmit. And 20 years ago, they did not know about that.
Uh,
But let us talk about the ordinary people.
mhm.
Let me give you an example. When I was doing this seminar in
Mhm.
the Fiji capital, Suva's Civilitorium for 7 days, courtesy of Tourism India, Sydney. I went with a delegation from Sydney,
Mhm.
and I was there for about 6 days, and at least 1,000 people came just through radio what do you, announcements. Over
Okay.
the period, 1,000 people came to me, and they wanted to know their ancestry, and and where they're from. And I always remember, and quote I've written about it, there were a group of South Indian
Mm-hmm.
women who came to me, and I had a big map of India, courtesy of India Tourism, and they said, better just show where in India we are from. We'll
Okay.
never be able to go to India, but at least we'll know on the map where the ancestry is from. And
Okay.
there was about 12, 10, 12 women. And
Mm-hmm.
I pointed, they were from Malabar Hills. Only thing they knew, they were from Malabar Hills. So
Mm-hmm.
they were Malayalans.
Mm.
And I showed them where Malabar Hills was. And they stood there, they looked at it, they cried, and they left. And later on, because of that, I made a documentary from the land of South Indian Girmitias, and I did go to Kerala and did
Mm-hmm.
shoot in Malabar Hills because of those ladies. And
Right.
so, and I managed, with their help, managed to get ancestral passes of about 60 of those their grandparents.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I handed it over to the UP Tourist Department, who boasted that they had that project, Discover India Roots project. I
Mm.
did that in around 2006, and they promised they're going to trace the roots of those 60-odd Gidmitias. A year later, 2 years later, I went back to their office and they told me that they lost the Gidmit passes. So they did not
Oh
do
no.
anything. There are a lot of negative experiences about all this.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your question, since those days, uh, almost every descendant of Fiji Gedmites, they have come to know about Gedmit. Many contacted me over the 20 years. They still talk to me about that.
Mm.
They want to trace their ancestors. And there's a process there. And
Mm.
I don't do that anymore. I'm retired now, but there are people for them too. And so awareness has grown tremendously.
Mm.
And as you know, I made about 10, 15 documentaries on
Yes.
Gilbert. And I've got overall view of about 500,000. And so that would have played a significant role
Mm.
in letting these people know what
Mm.
Gilmit is about, the truth about Gilmit, not the colonial version,
Mm.
and the awareness has increased a lot.
Great. Great. So, do you now see that you know, as you mentioned earlier, that the identity wasn't really spoken about or discussed in your households because of, you know, your parents and grandparents didn't want to relive the wounds of the past, the painful memories of their you know, ancestors being brought to the shores. Uh, do you think that now that this information has become widespread, that more and more people are now willing to open up and connect and understand uh, their uh, their legacy, this has, you know, healed those wounds in some to some extent? Is it like, you know, broken that perception that talking about will just, you know, bring up the pain even more? Is it like, instead, you know, healed it somewhat?
It has opened up a conversation,
Hmm.
but healing, I don't think is going to happen in not in my generation or a few years
Okay.
later, because
Okay.
the wound is so deep.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, not much is been
Hmm.
done either in the diaspora nor in India to bring about the healing. Because as I said, the
Okay.
people are there quite selfishly, using
Hmm.
the issue, the mudda, to promote themselves. And I'm
Right.
not talking about that. They do not really care about
Hmm.
what the needs of the descendants of Gurmiti is. But the conversation is there. I've had conversations with
Hmm.
hundreds and hundreds of people,
Hmm.
and especially from people. who don't live in the sugar colonial colonies like
Mm,
Fiji, Mauritius, Trinidad, South Africa,
mhm,
because they still see themselves far away, removed from India. The connectivity is not there. Is those who, unfortunately, because of coups in Fiji and other issues in the colonial diaspora, have migrated, left Fiji. They're called twice banished. They
mhm,
live in the Western countries. They're more media savvy. They've got more money. They feel that they can go to India
mhm,
to their villages, trace the villages. So they're more keen. And also because from my experience when I was in Fiji, 24 years I lived in Fiji. Fiji
mhm,
was my home. There was no other home. But when the coups kicked out the Fijians, Fiji Indians
mm,
from their own home in Fiji, they were homeless. They didn't have an identity.
mm,
The Fijian identity of Fiji's home was snatched away from them, and they don't feel that much at home in the Western countries. They're living there, they're enjoying their lives, but the identity is more deep rooted, and so these are the people now trying to find their identity, and identity goes back to India, the Mathrubhumi as we call them,
right.
Fiji and Mauritius and Trinidad, Suriname are Janambhumi,
Mhm,
and Australia and UK and USA, Canada are the Karambhumi.
Karnal,
So we've got three identities. You mentioned two identities before, but we have got
yeah,
three identities.
right, right. So, speaking about identities, like this dual or multiple identities, how do you personally like navigate this in between space? You know, where has it been like? Have you ever felt like, or at least like since the awareness has set in about your ancestry, about your legacy, that uh, and since you have researched more about like Eurocentric racism and stuff like that, have you found yourself in a position where you like found yourself like uh, perhaps like not being here, not being there, kind of misunderstood? Have you found yourself in that kind of situation?
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah. Sometimes freeze up, but I managed to get your question. In
Okay,
the
no, shall
beginning,
I repeat?
when the coup, no, it's all right. Yeah,
Okay,
I managed to get your
okay, okay,
question. Yes.
okay.
In the beginning, when the coup happened
Mhm.
for a few years, it was very traumatic
Okay.
because suddenly the identity, the
Mhm.
comfort of home of Fiji,
Mhm.
because I always planned to return to Fiji, from UK
Mhm.
and to end my days in Fiji.
Mhm.
That opportunity, the chance, the identity was snatched away quite dramatically and brutally in 1987,
Mhm.
repeated in 2000. So that time was traumatic for me. And then I went to India in 1994 for the first time to look for my ancestral home.
Okay.
Uh, I didn't. I reached Ayodhya, and then I was going to a place called Basti, and by the time I reached Basti, I was too tired,
Okay.
and so I did not. I did not. And then it took me another 10 years before I went to my Ajis village
Okay.
in Balrampur, and so there was a bit of healing there.
Okay.
And since then,
Mhm.
I managed to find the what we call the immigration, the Gurmit passes of all my 8 ancestors.
Okay.
My nana, nani, my aja, aji, and my two uncles,
Mm.
and that was very very comforting as well. Then I went to my nana's father's village in Lakhimpur Kheri
Oh, okay.
later on. Yes, and Since then, I visited Ayodhya,
Mm.
Basti, two places in Basti, but I have not managed to find my villages there. But
Okay.
being there near about, and one is remaining. My one Parnana was from near Nagpur. Um,
Okay.
Yet to go there. But in the whole process, I have got established a very firm identity, Indian identity.
Okay.
Because if anybody asks me who I am, I say I'm an Indian
Mm.
who happened to be born in Fiji, who lives in Australia. So I'm very firm about my identity. So I've
Mm.
reconciled, and I'm proud of all of my three identities.
Great. Uh, so your venture into creating documentaries, you're basically venture into media. Now, it's often said that history is often written by the victors, or in our case, the colonizers. So
Mhm.
how much of a challenge was it to navigate those waters for you to start telling your story, the story of the Girbet community, the agreement holders, and uh, publish it and make your voice being heard in this space, which is largely occupied by the quote unquote victors. What has that challenge been like for you?
Well, my journey, yeah, it was huge challenge, tremendous. It's
Mm.
been a more than 30-year challenge,
Mm.
and my journey into this did not start with Gurmit. It
Okay.
started with me getting to know, being a politician in London as well,
Mm-hmm.
that our people, the what we are called Asians
Mm-hmm.
in UK,
Mm.
people of Indian subcontinent.
Mm.
Uh, at that time, even now, we didn't have a voice there. We
Mm.
did not have media there, and whatever presence we had in the media were
Mm.
caricatures, uh, very badly presented. So there and then, I decided that I have to do something, and I
Mm.
got into writing.
Okay.
I published my first book in 1995, which is the look at racism, Eurocentric racism, and and it traced the whole racism going back to 1492. So
Okay.
the book, and then at the same time, with help of my friend Nash, we wrote a play. The book and the play were called Silent Cries,
Okay.
and that was launched in London in book and the play in early 1995. And so that was the beginning, and at the same time, the play combines and the book combines the journey of the
Mm.
slaves, and the Girmitians. So, but unfortunately, I had to leave UK
Mm.
to live in Australia, and then my focus tend to Girmit more in
Okay.
and once we here even today we don't have a voice,
Mm.
and so when I started research on Kermit more deeper,
Mm.
I started to look in the social media research, and at that time there was not even one documentary on
Okay.
Kermit.
Mm.
So in 2001, I made the first ever documentary on Gurmit. It's called Milap, Discover Indian Roots. And since then, I met a few others, and a lot of other people are now making documentaries on that.
Mm.
And slowly, we are challenging the colonial narrative
Okay.
of our history. My whole focus on Gurmit, and unfortunately, still there's a lot of people, academics, are presenting the rehashed version of the colonial narrative of Gurmit, and that is the biggest problem I have with academics.
Mm.
They're refusing to change that narrative. and I've written a lot of articles about that. I talked about it at conferences, and they are not prepared to change the narrative. The colonial narrative still persists, and as in India about the Indian history, which I'm researching the book.
mm,
I'm writing a book about the Indian history at the moment,
mm,
and there's a lot of resistance
right.
to the colonial narrative, and there are few bold people like Rajiv Malhotraji and
Yes.
Sai Deepak
Yeah.
and Dr. Ranganathan. They are countering the colonial narratives.
Correct.
Unfortunately, in the Gurmit diaspora is hardly
Mm,
anybody who's
mm,
countering the colonial narratives. They are one or two, and they are mostly not academics,
mm,
but huge amount of work needs to be done. Unfortunately, it has been a very lonely battle for me
mm.
to
No, I
counter the colonial narrative.
right, right, and yeah, it's again, the more people talk about it, the more within the diaspora and within the native community as well, the more this conversation picks up steam. I believe then we'll be able to make a more concerted effort in putting up the voice out for the diaspora that look, this is the reality. We have to be able to counter the narrative, building uh, that kind of setup takes a little bit of time. Now you can imagine that with just for our own history within India, it's taken us like 75 years post independence, or so-called independence, that we were finally able to build this infrastructure of people like J. Sai Deepak, Dr. Anand Raghunathan, Rajiv Malhotra, as you mentioned, that now they are able to confidently assert the position, the actual position that look, this is our true history. So you can only imagine that other uh, topics like the history of indentured labor, the forgotten people, basically, it's going to take some more time. But I'm hopeful that the more we have such conversations, the more network we're able to build with our overseas Indians. I think that will significantly help in raising the voice and